Great. We'll get started over here. Thanks, everyone. I'll just start by quickly introducing myself. I'm going to be moderating this panel with these three wonderful folks. My name is Manthan. I am a principal at WestBridge Capital. I head our investments here in our California office. WestBridge Capital is a US-India fund. We invest in companies and startups coming out of India as well as here who have strong India linkages. And we invest anywhere from Series A till a company's public, so a very broad focus. And enterprise software is a key area of focus for us. I'll ask all of you folks to quickly introduce yourself. Tell us a bit about what you folks focus on. I know we have folks from different kinds of funds, so it would be good to learn a bit about yourself and a bit about your funds and what you folks focus on. And post that, I'll ask some quick questions for all of us. But please, Dr. Chun.
Okay. Hi. My name is Chun. I'm the co-founder of the fund, the TSVC. We're the seed stage fund. We focus on the seed stage. In the US fund, it's based in the Silicon Valley here. And our typical investment is at the very, very early and writing the first check. For example, the best example is Zoom, right? We invested in Zoom back in 2011. And we focus in investment is deep tech, we call it data economy and also digital health.
Thanks, Dr. Chun. Alaa, please.
Yeah, thanks, Manthan, again, for having me here. Pleasure meeting everybody. My name is Alaa, and I head Mubadala Capital's healthcare and life sciences early stage investment platform, which is a platform that we started roughly in 2017. And for people who don't know Mubadala is a sovereign wealth fund for the government of Abu Dhabi. It's quite large, around $300 billion of AUM. Very active business builder, so we have a big spectrum of assets in healthcare and, of course, petrochemicals and industrials and others. And the fund that we launched, think of it as a kind of like an early stage feeder for the sovereign to go and deploy capital on the successful companies that we find. In life sciences and healthcare, we mainly focus on biotechnology, tech bio, as well as healthcare technology and healthcare services. And we come in seed, Series A, maybe Series B, and at the right time we bring in the sovereign so that we can kind of create the generational companies that this society and this economy needs to transform healthcare.
Awesome, thanks Alaa. And Marta, please.
Hi everyone, I'm Marta Ghiglioni. I'm originally from Italy, but I work with Endeavor Global. Endeavor Global is a global nonprofit. We're a community of by and for entrepreneurs, but we have a fund. We have a VC fund that has currently about 500 million of assets under management. We deploy capital in companies that we have selected through our selection process across 42 different markets worldwide, and companies are usually at the later stage, so they already have a great product market fit and they're looking for scaling and becoming a global company. And the way which we come in is we don't only help them create a great company, but also try to help the founders really scale themselves and grow in their position within the company and scaling a team that could really make a difference. And we believe in like ultra-generational impact, so that essentially by creating a positive flywheel where founders can become investors in other companies and train other founders, we can change economies worldwide.
Awesome, thank you. And I would love to start with you, Dr. Chun. I know you folks focus a lot on immigrant founders, right? And I'm pretty sure I can see faces over here. A lot of folks seem to be immigrants here. Talk us a bit about what is unique about immigrant founders and places that you feel, especially at the early stage that you come in, that they need a lot of help, and how do you folks sort of try to address that?
Yeah, especially in Silicon Valley, we have a lot of engineer founders and a lot of Chinese and Indian in our portfolio, right? We have many immigrant founders as a Chinese from China and also Indian founders. So this is a typical talent pool, and we believe it's an untapped pool, and we can expand. Also, we have some other country, but this is majority. Yeah, and I think the immigrant founder have a really. Most of them have a very good education background and a very, very extremely resilient when founding the companies.
Makes sense. And we at WestBridge sort of also back some of these US-India companies. We tend to see the go-to-market as a function where sort of we feel like some of these founders need the most help, given especially the customers are here in the US. And so sort of helping on those fronts is, especially our founders feel that we can add the most value. But Alaa, would love to learn more about, from a healthcare standpoint, obviously the biggest area of spend in the US, almost $4.5 trillion market. So huge market. Talk to us about few of the areas that you are super excited about within healthcare. And then I know you obviously incubate companies as well as sort of come in at later stages. So how do you make that decision of which segment you want to incubate versus where do you want to find an existing team?
Yeah. I mean, honestly, the way to view AI, even in today's age, is it is essentially a tool, right? I mean, of course, right now there's, in some ways, AI is overhyped, but in others it actually is not, right? It depends on the application. So the way that we think AI companies can differentiate is not necessarily through the models that they can develop and build on applications on top of which. We really believe in the power of data to differentiate these companies. So we are hyper-focused on building and investing in vertically integrated businesses in healthcare. Whether that is a biotechnology that is able to kind of create through high throughput screening, enough genomic, proteomic data sets that allows them to go and create, think of it as novel, either identify novel targets for a certain disease area or identify novel molecules using AI and computational chemistry approaches. But you're gonna have to own the full stack, right? And similarly, in healthcare delivery, we believe in this power of integration. The nirvana would be if you can integrate delivery with technology, with data under one umbrella. Of course, it's sort of like hard to do it as broad healthcare applications, but you can do it for niche areas, like in mental behavioral health, where you could ultimately go and build a company that integrates healthcare delivery, controls the data of the patients within a HIPAA compliant way, but also is able to innovate, identify novel biomarkers, enabling the innovation on top of that data set to create better therapeutics. So we believe in this vertical integration and the power of that on how can we unlock the true potential of AI. And to the companies that we incubate, I mean, we typically invest, I would say 70% of what we do is we actually invest in companies that already are established, but we also incubate these companies, right? And today, we're hyper-focused on mental and behavioral health, and we're incubating a company in that space that would enable us to unlock the true potential of really this kind of care trinity, right? Which is you bring the data and you bring the technology, but you bring it to a very controlled healthcare delivery system that ultimately applies that for accelerated innovation.
Makes a lot of sense, especially that segment in the behavioral health is a very important segment and lots to be done there. So makes a lot of sense. And Marta, would love to learn more about when you folks are in multiple countries, every geography is very different. How do you folks try to sort of give a great experience to the founders across different geographies? Do you also do a lot of intermingling of founders amongst different geographies? Is it the purpose to give a more global exposure? Talk to us about when a founder goes through the Endeavor experience, what are they anticipating?
Yeah, so before joining Endeavor, I was working for a VC fund. And so when I decided to join Endeavor, I interviewed founders that went through the process and became entrepreneurs. And one of them described it this way. It's like, look, I'm trying to do something extremely hard. I'm trying to change things in this country and trying to do business in a way that no one else is. Endeavor helps me pull my head out of whatever it is that I'm immersed in, and shows me that, look, there are other people everywhere that are doing the same thing. Okay, we're all here, we're energized, let's go back to business. And so that analogy is something that I brought with me, and many founders have relied similar images to me over the years. The importance and the reason why Endeavor is working so well so far is that it's a different formula in every country that we're in. And we were discussing this today with a few of you in the audience, and it was like, look, we are in Brazil with a team of 100 people, and we are in Poland with a team of 2 or 3. Because of course, different countries have different necessities, but also different markets require different things. One interesting thing, though, that we are seeing now throughout the regions is that there are the so-called waves of innovation. And this is something that we're elaborating internally about the type of innovation that we're seeing coming from different countries based on the level of development, both of the market and of the companies that end up having there. And if I can spend 1 second on that, because it touches a little bit on AI, we saw, and this reflects also on the model in which we invest, because we only invest in the companies that we end up selecting. So we only select those companies that have product market fit, that are big companies in their local markets, but that are potentially growing as a global company. And the first wave that we see is consumer tech. Like a lot of companies that have like consumer applications, and so our first funds were very heavy on consumer. And then you see that little by little the consumer stays the same or tends to plateau, and B2B software and enterprise picks up, and the fintech wave is the following. And they usually begin with copycats, and then little by little bring the innovation over. So what we are seeing right now in terms of AI is we have a number of companies that are building things with AI, not necessarily being AI companies themselves. And then we have a few outliers that are brilliant people that maybe immigrated to different countries, and so part of our diaspora programs that created extremely successful startups in the AI space, not necessarily only in their country, but by leveraging talent in multiple locations. And so in that sense, I think we will see more and more coming from emerging markets and underrepresented markets as well. But it's going to be very interesting to see beyond the application layer of the product and the intelligence that is developed in the US, what other markets are really going to contribute and bring novelty to.
Makes sense, thank you. We at WestBridge obsess a lot about few things like capital efficiency, looking for a large market, given we are a multi-stage investor. And one of the things I was talking to a few folks, everybody's always very uniquely keen to learn more about what are important aspects of your investing philosophy. So perhaps all three of you, if you could talk about like what are the, I mean, if we had it all, we could love for a great team, great market, great product. I mean, we want it all, right? But seldom is when you have everything checked. So what are the most important things when you look at an early stage company that you sort of make a decision based on?
Yeah, indeed it's very important. And since we started this fund, TSVC, 14 years ago, and we identify so-called three pillars. We believe, yeah. The number one is a market, of course. But market, what we see is a trend. It is about the trend. It's not just one spot. And because we focus on the seed stage, if the racetrack is well established, we believe we are too late to get in, right? So we got to be earlier enough. One good example is right now we identify a new opportunity. We name it as onshore. That is made in USA. And a lot of it, because we are Chinese based, right? So we can leverage the manufacturing resource in China. So this is something new, and I don't think you heard a lot of people talking quite a lot. This is very special, especially in today's geopolitical situation, right? So this is a very, very special. So then the number one market trend, for example, made in USA is a trend, okay? The second one, of course, is the product. When I talk about the product, it includes the technology. Technology should be the part of the product, otherwise it doesn't make any sense in the business. So this one, actually, what we realize is about the position when we talk about product, because the trend is a temporal, right, thing, and it's a certain time window. You have certain time window, but where exactly you want to land your product is critical. And usually we see our portfolio, they may need to pivot once or twice. The good example, like Zoom, right? At the very beginning, they focus on the C to consumer, just like you're doing, right? And quickly, after 1 year, we realize actually the enterprise is much better to business, right? So this is the second factor is the product. And number three, actually, is the most important is the team. Okay, anyway, it's about the people, especially when we work on writing the first check to the startup, right? They first. At that moment, usually they don't have a product yet. And of course, they don't have a customer. They don't have a revenue. So then what we can do is, the only thing we can look at is people. So then the good thing is when we look at all these immigrant engineers, and we understand those background, because we are also immigrant, and get the bachelor degree maybe back in your home country, and earn a PhD here in the good university, and have a many years working experience in the large company, and with all this data, right, and we can analyze, and also through immigrant quite often we have a lot of connections. We can do the background check.
Yeah. Reference check is pretty important.
Yeah. So this is it's a three pillar. We call it three pillar, and we use this formula try to identify the potential unicorn, and it turns out the result is pretty good. And we have right now we have about 220 portfolio, and we already got 9 unicorns, 5 IPOs. Yeah.
Awesome. Alaa, what's important for you when you look at healthcare?
I mean, also, I don't think it's that different, right? I mean, it's pretty much largely aligned. I'll tell you, like, out of, I think, 165 portfolio companies that we've invested in, there aren't many failures so far, knock on wood, we'll see. But most of the challenges that these companies have seen is because the team was unable to pivot, the CEO was unable to step up, right? I mean, it's just like the team is number one for us. And so it's very similar kind of components, but I would say number one assessment is really the team. Can they be constant learners, especially the CEO? Can they really, have a broad toolkit and seek help if they don't have that broad toolkit to go build these companies and kind of grow with the role? I think those are two very important parameters that we assess. And part of the work that we do is we've created this, what we call it, Founder Accelerator program. So because we invest in sort of like scientists most of the time, what we do is we basically provide, think of it as kind of leadership skills and executive skills. It's a year program with executive coaches that go and like support. We build cohorts around similar kind of types of founders, and we put them through that program. It's a year-long program where they meet once a quarter in person, and this is all sponsored by Mubadala. That basically allows them to become more of or less of a scientist and more of an executive, right? So, hand-holding and supporting these founders is crucial for us. And given our kind of role in healthcare and particularly biotechnology, IP is crucial, right? Like we do extensive IP diligence, given that, if you have the best drug but somebody else has the IP, it doesn't matter, right? So, we go through that, but largely aligned.
That's an important point on IP, because especially at the early stage, obviously people are very important, but to your point, understanding if they have something unique that they've figured out and successfully figuring it out, I'm guessing is a way to find those early winners. And Marta, would love to know what sort of is important for, I know you folks have an early stage venture fund as well. What's important for you folks?
Definitely. So when we started the fund, part of our job, one of our board members told us there are two fundamental things about having a successful fund. One is being contrarian, and then being right. And our way to be contrarian is we believe that great founders are everywhere. And that's our thesis, that's our first principle. How do we make sure that we know the best founders in every market? That to us is the boots on the ground. It's our colleagues from those markets that are able to help us identify early who is the real deal in those markets. And that is a testament of the fact that we invested in the first unicorn in 13 of the countries that we entered, not only because we were part of their story, but also because we were honestly good at selecting them. And part of that is, of course, understanding what is the potential of the humans involved and what the humans involved need in order for the company to scale. So in our selection process, we usually look at 3 different things. That is the timing, is the business at the right inflection point to really focus on the charger and turbocharging? How is the business? Is the business actually good and something that we believe on? And the third point is the founder someone that is coachable and is gonna listen to what's happening around him or her or them and help the company get to where it needs to be. So for us, it's essentially, I would say that the triangle is our principle.
You make a very interesting point, and I think the fact that you can potentially help mold a founder at the initial times is pretty important, because a lot of them come from different backgrounds like engineering and so on and so forth, scientists and so on and so forth, and so that's pretty important. And I think we at WestBridge also sort of try to enable the founder by providing as much help on all aspects as possible. I guess in interest of time, just one last question, and I'm sure folks would love to catch you all on the side as well. What prediction do you have for 2024 or the remainder of 2024? Obviously, the market went through a crazy time post-COVID, then it went down. It's kind of stabilizing, but who knows? No one has a crystal ball. But given as VC's important aspect is to just look forward, would love to know what's your prediction, one prediction around how things are going to pan out in 2024, just generally. It could be in a sector, it could be about how valuation environments might change, or anything in general. Just curious to pick all of your brains on how you feel like the remainder of 2024 will play out.
Yeah, even we are a very small, tiny fund, right, focused on the seed stage, but we have many partners. Some partner venture partner, they are even part-time, right? So we focus on the different area. In my territory, I would say the number one, of course, is the AI, especially when AI cool down a little bit, right? And I see the AI in the 5 area. Number one is all the computation power that is like a chips. That, for example, one portfolio is a D matrix, is by Indian founder, right? And number two is of course is a model, and the model is very difficult, but still we connect with the many U.S. universities, top university. They have a lot of interesting research work, and ready. Some research work is ready to be commercialized, and that is a great opportunity. And number three is I think it's something in the middle. Maybe I put it later. Number three is application, of course. The application is quite straightforward, and we do see a lot of Chinese founders. They are really good at it, focus on the application in the different vertical. And number four is also, I think, is a Silicon Valley specialty. Is about the safety and the security. And we have both Chinese founder and the Indian founder working on this area with a very strong security background, right? So getting to this new territory. Number five actually is, I think, is even more interesting, and is not, I don't think it's overhyped yet. It is agent, intelligent agent, right? Agent technology, especially we look at the collaborative multi-agent system, because I personally don't quite believe AGI can solve all the problem. Even the AGI is hard to define, right? Nobody can agree on a single definition. But the agent, if you have multiple agents working on a different area, and you can combine. So this is one big category, and the second big category for me is renewable energy, especially battery related, right? And since the U.S. need to do a lot of work, catch up. And number three, I already mentioned, is onshore, and making the manufacturing, move a lot of build factory in the U.S. And we can leverage the very strong resource in China, right? Like equipment, talents, experience, even the supply chain. Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Chun. Alaa, any prediction for how things are going to pan out in 20?
I don't know predictions, but I think, listen, I think the two trends that will continue to be strong, I think, is first is a lot of money are going to lose money. A lot of people are going to lose money in AI, because in some ways, I feel, I've been investing only for 8 years, so I'm going to say something that is maybe out of knowledge a little bit, but I feel Silicon Valley has a very short memory, right, when it comes to sort of like hype cycles. And we've seen what happened in blockchain, and now we're seeing what's happening in AI, right? Like, things are extremely overvalued, right?
Yep.
And zero revenue, it'll be like in the hundreds of millions, which is kind of mind blowing. So I think if you're not cautious and you're not bound by the fundamentals of the technology and the fundamentals of the sustainable differentiation for these companies, a lot of people are going to lose money. And I think the second thing, what you will notice, I think, is, sovereign wealth funds are going to continue to be an important part of this financing ecosystem. And I would say they will come more and more towards the central stage of the financing ecosystem. We've seen what Mubadala has done with the $100 billion MGX fund, right? Now, it's kind of scary. 100 billion. There was a number not that long time ago with a similar with a similar number. So hopefully it will be deployed with the right manner as well. But the reality is, there is a lot of capital in this world, and there is a lot of people, or there are a lot of people that are paying attention to what's happening in Silicon Valley, and there is abundance of capital, and a lot of that capital is going to come from sovereign wealth funds that are becoming more and more active. When we first started this business, when I used to come to sort of like the Sand Hill Road, people were looking at us as purely LPs, like just give me your money, I'll deploy it, don't worry about it, I'll make you money. Today, that's not a model. Today, we want to go and deploy capital proactively. That's why we have a team of 20 people here, right? Mm-hmm. So that sort of like model of being active, direct investors is going to strengthen with time, I believe.
And we have a company in commons, and I have a first-hand view of how helpful you folks are. So very, very glad to partner on Innovator.
Likewise.
And Marta, would love to get your prediction for our remainder of 2024.
Yeah, that's very interesting. I think definitely we have a pipeline. We're going to see a pipeline of either companies being very, very close to IPO or very big mergers happen. Like we are starting to feel like at the later stage sort of a need for consolidation. And that could translate into larger tech conglomerates happening and some of the smaller companies getting acquired earlier, or some more companies pushing to go public, even if the market conditions are not exactly perfect. But I think some of that tension at the higher up for some of the businesses is going to make some chicken blink before the others. And one thing that we have published an article about it at the end of last year, but it's eventually down rounds are going to be sort of like the stigma around down rounds is going to go away. Like we are going to have to look at ourselves in the mirror and like acknowledge collectively that some of the valuations of 2021 are just not sustainable, but that some are still great, incredible businesses that are not worth going out of business because of valuation alone. And so we're going to see probably more of that and more normalized, and we welcome it, to be honest, because we want the great businesses, not the valuations necessarily.
Absolutely. Well said. I guess cycles come and go, but great businesses are here to stay. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, folks. I know you folks are around, so all the folks who want to ask them questions one-on-one, please feel free to. And I had a lot of fun asking you questions. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Manthan.
Thank you.
Pleasure.